Hi, my name is Dan, and this is a video about a lost block of Allyn Street in Hartford, Connecticut. Today, Allyn Street extends between Union Place on the west and Ann Street on the east. But for over a century, it used to extend all the way to Trumbull Street. This section of Allyn Street was lost when the Hartford Civic Center, now called the XL Center, was built in the early 1970s. This lost section was actually the very first part of Allyn Street to be opened way back in 1867. So what was this now vanished block of Allyn Street like back before 1970? This is a section of the Hartford County Atlas of 1869. Allyn Street, between Trumbull and Ann Streets, was brand new at the time. It was named for the Allyn family. Timothy M. Allyn, who was mayor of Hartford from 1858 to 1860, owned property in the vicinity. He erected the lavish Allyn House Hotel at the corner of Trumbull and Asylum Streets in 1857. Just west of the hotel, he erected Allyn Hall, which for a number of years was Hartford's premier performance space. Just to the west of Ann Street was Franklin Street, also known as Franklin Court because it ended in a cul-de-sac. This street would soon be extended west and become the continuation of Allyn Street. As I mentioned, this is the part of Allyn Street that survives today. The City Council had issued preliminary orders for the opening of Allyn Street in 1867. As the Hartford Courant reported on June 1, 1867, quote, "Several considerations render the speedy opening of this street a matter of considerable importance. Asylum Street is already overcrowded with teams during the business portion of the day, and Church Street, the nearest on the north, connecting Main and High, is crowded on weekdays and fairly thronged on Sunday. A new outlet is needed for the business and travel of this section, and the proposed new street would furnish it. What makes this the more important is the continual increase of travel and freight carriage from the depot uptown, and this increase is likely to be made much greater within 2 or 3 years by the completion of the Boston, Hartford, and Erie Railroad from Boston to Hartford. The Massachusetts legislature has recently granted a loan of $3 million for the completion of the road, and work on the connecting link between the Massachusetts state line and Willimantic will be pushed rapidly forward. This prospective increase of business would not of itself demand immediate attention, were it not for the fact that at each end of the proposed street are now old buildings which will soon be replaced by new blocks unless the highway is ordered. They can now be had at reasonable assessments, but if new buildings are raised in their places, it will be impossible to get the street through except at a great expense." Unquote. There was still some trouble, as it turned out. As the Courant reported on September 4, 1868, quote, "The old house on Trumbull Street, which is to be removed for Allyn Street, is now being demolished, or at least a portion of it. The city has taken 40 feet for the street, and the line passes through this house, leaving a little less than 1/2 which is not needed. This the owner refuses to have pulled down, and as we are credibly informed, asserts that the city must put a foundation under it and have it boarded up. Should this be done, the concern would be a very shabby-looking affair and an eyesore to the entire neighborhood. We are told that the present owner bought the property after the street had been ordered opened, and therefore knew that the house must be removed. All the dwellers in that vicinity are anxious for its entire removal." Unquote. As I mentioned, the block of Allyn Street between Trumbull and Ann Streets would exist for about a century. This is a section of the bird's eye view of Hartford of 1877, just a decade after the street was opened. The corners at Ann and Trumbull Streets were built up, but there were still a lot of empty lots in the block in the 1870s. In 1884, the Hartford County Courthouse building was erected on the south corner of Trumbull and Allyn Streets. The lot just west of the county building remained undeveloped until 1915. The county building was demolished in 1930 and eventually replaced with a parking garage. This photo is one of several that were taken along Allyn Street in about 1969, just before everything was demolished to make way for the Civic Center. Let's continue along the south side of Allyn Street. On the left is a view up the alley just west of the parking structure that was built on the site of the old county building. At the end of it is the rear of the E.M. Lowe's Theater that faced Asylum Street. West of the alley was a building depicted in the photos in the center and right. At the west end of the building, as shown in this photograph, was the Hartford branch of Albert's Furniture Store of Waterbury. This building, which housed Albert's and many other businesses over the years, was erected in 1915 by Robert J. Allyn, grandson of Timothy M. Allyn, who had built the Allyn House Hotel that I mentioned earlier. The 1915 building shown here was designed by Edward T. Hapgood. It had stores on the ground floor, with 2 floors above originally dedicated to light manufacturing. A driveway behind the building led to Asylum Street, between the later E.M. Lowe's and Allyn Theaters. Just west of the Allyn building was a less tall but quite long 3-story building, which also had stores on the first floor. As shown on the left, this building had existed by the time of the bird's eye view of Hartford of 1877. It had a different appearance back then, however, as shown in the picture on the left, taken in 1923, the year it was acquired by Michael C. Manternack. He extensively remodeled the structure with an entirely new front that would last until the building was eventually demolished for the Hartford Civic Center. Across the street, on the west side of Ann Street, was the Masonic Temple building, which was erected in 1894 and still exists today. At the southeast corner of Ann and Allyn Streets was a parking lot. A mansard-roofed building called the Loomis Block once stood here. It was demolished in 1940. On the northeast corner of Ann and Allyn Streets was a 3-story 19th century Italianate-style commercial building pictured on the right in 1924. Moving back eastwards along the north side of Allyn Street and about 45 years ahead in time, pictured on the far right was the City Club building, located at the north corner of Trumbull and Ann Streets. The City Club building was erected in 1924. If you want to learn more about it, and also about the Hartford County building that I mentioned earlier, check out my video on Trumbull Street before the XL Center, which I'll link in the description below. Just west of the City Club building on Allyn Street was a 2-story building of Indiana limestone erected in 1948 to 1949 and designed by the architectural firm of Ebbets, Frid, and Prentice. This building replaced an earlier one on the site erected circa 1894, that had two matching projections on its front facade topped with pyramidal roofs. The new structure, erected in the late 1940s, was built as a joint venture of the two stores that would occupy it, Betty's Inc., a woman's apparel shop, and Freed's Fur Shop. Betty's had started back in 1918, selling only hats at first. Morris L. Freed had established himself in the fur business in 1919. The two stores had ended up being in the same building on Pratt Street for 15 years before they decided to make the move to Allyn Street in 1948. At the time, the two shop owners felt that Hartford's downtown shopping district had to expand, and so they were acting as entrepreneurial pioneers in the retail development of Allyn Street, which for many years had been the location of a number of light industrial plants like the Allyn building that I mentioned earlier. Mr. Freed asserted that Allyn Street could become the 57th Street of Hartford, just as Pratt Street had become the city's Fifth Avenue. Just west of Betty and Freed's were two connected buildings. The four-story building on the right, erected circa 1890, had the Fur Bazaar as its last tenant. The building on the left, where Karen Studios Photographers was located, was actually also built around 1890. Only the east end of the building is shown in these photos. The building originally also had 4 stories, with a hotel on its upper floors. But after a fire in 1937, the owner decided to remove the upper floors and remodel the ground floor with a white stucco exterior. Of course, all of these buildings I've been describing in this video were demolished to make way for the Civic Center. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. In the future, I hope to do videos about the Asylum, Ann, and Church Street sides of the Civic Center, so stay tuned for those, and thanks for watching.